Most people spend their lives trying to be liked. They try to be agreeable, easy to deal with, and always available. They say yes too often. They try not to upset anyone. And for a while, it feels safe. It feels like the right strategy. Because when people like you, they keep you around. But there's a hidden problem with that approach. Being liked is not the same as being valued. When someone is simply pleasant, polite, and easy to replace, people appreciate them, but they don't rely on them. Their presence is nice, but not essential. If they disappear tomorrow, things simply continue. And that's the quiet reality most people never notice. Respect is built differently. It doesn't come from being agreeable all the time. It comes from competence, from reliability, from the quiet understanding that when something important needs to be handled, you're one of the few people who can actually do it properly. When you become that person, something subtle changes in how people treat you. They listen more carefully. They take your words more seriously. They start thinking twice before ignoring you or taking you for granted. Because competence creates weight. Think about the people in your life who truly command respect. It's rarely the loudest person in the room. It's rarely the one constantly seeking attention or approval. It's usually the person who delivers results without drama. The one who solves problems when others are confused. The one who handles pressure calmly while everyone else becomes emotional. That kind of presence can't be faked. It comes from skill, discipline, and the quiet confidence that grows from knowing you can handle things when they matter most. But here's where it becomes powerful. When someone consistently performs at a high level, people around them begin to feel a subtle shift. They realize that this person is operating on a different level. Their reliability becomes rare. Their judgment becomes trusted. Their ability becomes difficult to replicate. And that creates psychological pressure. Not because you're trying to intimidate anyone, but because excellence naturally raises the standard. Suddenly, people notice their own shortcuts, their own lack of preparation, their own inconsistency. And without saying a word, you've created a comparison. The truth is simple. When you become genuinely skilled and dependable, people stop seeing you as optional. Your presence becomes valuable. And once someone becomes truly valuable, the dynamic of every interaction begins to change. Most people misunderstand what it actually means to become valuable. They think it's about doing more work, saying yes to everything, and constantly trying to prove themselves. But that usually creates the opposite effect. When someone is always available and always trying to please, their presence slowly loses weight. People begin to assume they will always be there, always say yes, always fill the gap. And when something becomes predictable like that, it stops feeling important. True value is built differently. It comes from reliability combined with rarity. When someone consistently performs well but doesn't chase attention, their presence starts to feel different. People notice that when this person commits to something, it gets done properly, not rushed, not half-finished, done with care and precision. Over time, that consistency builds trust, and trust is powerful. Because the moment people trust your ability, they begin to depend on it. They start assigning you the responsibilities that actually matter. They bring you into decisions that require judgment. They listen when you speak, not because you demanded attention, but because your track record earned it. That's when the dynamic quietly shifts. Instead of trying to convince people of your value, your actions already proved it. Your work speaks before you do. Your reputation enters the room before you say a word. But there is another layer that many people miss. The most respected individuals are not just capable, they are composed under pressure. When problems appear and everyone else becomes anxious, they stay steady. They assess the situation calmly. They respond instead of reacting. This kind of composure is rare. Most people lose clarity when stress rises. They rush decisions. They become defensive. They blame circumstances or other people. But the person who remains clear and controlled during difficult moments becomes incredibly valuable. Because reliability during calm situations is useful. Reliability during pressure is powerful. When others begin to see that you can handle complexity without panic, your role changes. You're no longer just someone who helps. You become someone who stabilizes situations. And once people experience that level of stability from you, they start recognizing something important. Replacing you would not be easy. Not because you forced that perception, but because you earned it through consistent skill, steady behavior, and the quiet confidence that shows up when things become difficult. The final shift happens when you stop focusing on proving your worth and start focusing on mastering your craft. Most people waste enormous energy trying to look important. They talk more than they deliver. They try to signal intelligence instead of building it. And over time, people notice the gap between appearance and reality. But the person who becomes truly exceptional moves differently. They spend less time talking and more time improving. While others are busy explaining why something is difficult, they are quietly learning how to solve it. While others chase recognition, they chase competence. Day by day, skill by skill, they become sharper. And that quiet improvement compounds. At first, the difference is small. Maybe you work a little more carefully. Maybe you prepare more thoroughly than others. Maybe you learn things that most people ignore. But over time, those small habits stack together and create something powerful. Your thinking becomes clearer. Your execution becomes faster. Your confidence becomes calmer. Not loud confidence, not arrogant confidence, the kind that comes from knowing you've put in the work and you can handle whatever appears in front of you. When someone reaches that level, people around them start noticing subtle things. They notice that problems seem to move toward you instead of away from you. Not because you seek them out, but because others trust your ability to deal with them. They notice that when important decisions need to be made, your opinion carries weight. And they notice that when you're involved, outcomes tend to improve. This isn't luck. It's the natural result of long-term competence. And that's where the real power appears. Because the moment people recognize that your contribution consistently improves situations, they start protecting that presence. They don't want to lose it. They don't want to risk replacing it with something uncertain. That's when your influence grows without effort. You don't need to demand respect. You don't need to compete for attention. You simply operate at a level that quietly changes the standard around you. The truth is simple but powerful. When someone becomes genuinely skilled, reliable, and calm under pressure, their presence becomes difficult to substitute. And once people understand that replacing you would lower the quality of the outcome, the dynamic changes forever. You're no longer just another participant. You become the person whose presence makes everything work better.